Knicks pull off a classic win, man, in a blockbuster. CT live on the reaction on the road. Great to have you with us, man. Smash that like button. Get your comments, questions in. Man, this game was fun. It was a classic. But first and foremost, got to wish everyone a Merry Xmas. Happy holidays to everyone out here. Hope you've had a beautiful day and stay blessed. And hope the holidays, man, are going well, right? Speaking of going well, our New York Knicks today, what a finish. Jalen Brunson with 34 points and clutch threes to put the dagger and send Cleveland going home with the L, right? But this win does not happen without the bench production. Jordan Clarkson with 25 points was absolutely phenomenal, man. Hitting 5 threes. Tyler, the creator, right? Not only that, Tyler get buckets right now. He's just playing with so much confidence, man. We talk about playing in New York, right? One of the perks of, playing in New York for the New York Knicks is when you start to play well, you start to feel that confidence, man. You feel the whole city. You feel the whole city behind you, the energy. And Tyler Kolek playing with the trust, the faith of the coaching staff, Mike Brown, right? You just see it. But now the shots are starting to go down, right? The assists as well. Tyler Kolek with 16 points and 9 assists, fresh off his first start in the loss against Minnesota, man. He had almost a triple-double in that one, man. It was crazy. What a run that the New York Knicks are on right now. Merry Xmas to buzzer beater. Daniel Berry, salute to everyone in the building. Was going to go live a bit earlier, but apologies for the delayed stream, right? But prime time action. Everyone had their day, unwrapped their presents, and had their big Christmas dinner. Hopefully you are all relaxed now, stress-free, can sit back and relax, chop it up with the fellow Knicks streets. Get your questions, comments in. Mr. Nixon, salute. Right, this game was a Christmas miracle. Fantastic comeback win. Kolek, Mitch, and Clarkson changed the game. Yeah, you said it, man. Look, you can be a great team with a great starting five, but you can't win a championship without a strong bench, right? And I got some takes to give on our bench right now, man. I think it might be one of the strongest with Kolek playing the way he is in recent memory for me. With the three-point ball that Kolek is displaying, and we're going to shout out Mitch because a lot of those threes don't happen without the offensive rebound, man. Another game, Mitchell Robinson dominates Cleveland, right? But not just Cleveland. Mitchell Robinson will dominate anyone, right? That's how special he is on the glass, right? Mikal Bridges won the defensive player of the game. Shout out to Mikal. Hit that nice big mid-range right on the pull-up when Cleveland tried to blitz and trap. Great ball movement late, man. I'm noticing so much better execution late down the stretch with this team compared to last year's team. But we're done comparing last year's team with this team because this team is different every year, right? You make changes, coaching staff, a lot of changes have happened, man. But no Deuce McBride, no Shamet. And guys are just playing with so much more confidence, right? The two-point guard alignment, we've seen it a lot now. And it really is starting to, gain more momentum, fam. We've got opposing fan bases posing trades for Tyler Kolek now. The shoe is on the other foot. We've got other fan bases complaining that they ain't developing backup point guards like the Knicks are developing Tyler Kolek. Man, what a world we're living in right now, ladies and gentlemen, where Tyler Kolek, probably the biggest story out of the last 2 weeks since the NBA Cup, right? He's just going to another level, right? This is a breakout performance, right, from Tyler Kolek this season, right? An absolute breakout that we are witnessing. We've seen Linsanity. We've seen players win, most improved, right? Tyler Kolek is going to have to keep this up to be in the most improved conversation, right? But it ain't out of the realm of possibilities, man, if he continues to get, massive rotation minutes and produce on this level. Right. Obviously the experience in college coming out, the pedigree, we knew, right? He was just needing that opportunity. Mike Brown is giving him that, and Mike Brown needs his props, right, for getting the best out of Tyler Kolek right now. Neymar salute says Kolek played the best, right? His best game as a pro, right? Obviously, you got the start in the last one, but to hit 11 points, clutch buckets late, man, 3 threes in the fourth quarter. The Knicks don't pull off this heroic comeback, down 17 with 10 minutes remaining, fam. Not all hope was lost because I knew we have a dynamic offense, right? But what a crazy game, Cleveland started out hot. Shout out to them for starting, 38 points. I think the Knicks defense and the occasion, obviously the early tip came out slow. Second quarter bounced back in a major way, but then Cleveland responded in the third quarter, and the Knicks still have to improve coming out of halftime. That has been the Achilles for this team, in my opinion. But obviously, the fourth quarter, man, there is no other team like the Knicks at MSG when the crowd is going crazy on Christmas Day. Right. Shout out to the crowd. Shout out to the energy, these guys. And we have all the shot makers, and we have gritty players, defenders, made stops as well. All heroes abound, right? We are going to talk about Josh Hart and the unfortunate ankle roll. Was not able to finish this game, had to go back to the locker room. But there is also more beautiful stories to come out of today. Karl Anthony Towns, congratulations on his engagement, right, to his fiance Jordan Woods as well. What a story that is, man. Shout out to Kat. Feel good vibes from today, and just enjoying the day and the game earlier, and a pleasure to chop it up with y'all. G Money is in the building, right? There was a black Kolek in the CAVS stocking. Great comment. His feel for the game, right, is improving each and every game, right? That play where, he was going to get trapped, move the ball super quick, and then the Knicks were able to punish the trap with the OG throw down too. Now, I got to bring you some great quotes from Tyler Kolek in the locker room, man. Obviously, the media scrum was around Kolek in that locker room, and trying to find out his reaction and his feeling right now to this huge breakout run. And Kolek gave props to campaign once again. He gave props to Mike Brown for coaching him hard. He said he needs that, he likes that, and he's an extension of the coach. He expects that coaching toughness to really hold him accountable. And Tyler Kolek is extremely coachable, fam, as well. We know 4 years in college, coming in with the point guard pedigree. But it was beautiful to hear him reference, the learning curve from last season, talking about campaign, teaching him to change the game, right? When you come in off the bench, you got to find a way to change the game, right? Change the flow, make something different happen. Tyler Kolek has really learned that. He's coming in and he's playing with extra speed. The ball is pinging around, and guys are getting open three. It's just so beautiful to watch the Kolek Brunson alignment, right? Now, we are going to talk about the impending return of Deuce McBride, right? What can we expect to see? Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing, Deuce McBride, Kolek, and Clarkson. Really looking forward to seeing that alignment. AP salute in the building. I'm on the road still, so no studio show for this one, but I can bring you on an update, fam, is that things will be back to regular post-game shows after the next game. So we've got Atlanta, and then we have New Orleans. I'll be back in my home city with the studio set up for the New Orleans post-game. So we've got one more game where I'm on the road, but great to have you with us nevertheless to come through and shout out to Nick Street. Slow Runner says, it always feels good to beat the Cavs Christmas Day or any other day, especially when we come from behind to do it, right? Yeah, we mentioned, we talked about the Knicks grit late. Well, Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the biz, one of the best to ever do it on the sidelines, gave the Knicks immense props after the big win against the Heat, saying this team is just never out of it, man. You have to bury them every single possession. This is coming from Eric Spoelstra, fam, who has multiple rings, right? He sees it. I think he sees championship pedigree in this team coming from Eric Spoelstra, right? We are never out of a ball game, fam. I don't care if we're down 20, right? We were down 17 and still came back and found a way. What about the big NBA Cup win over the Spurs, fam? So earlier today, after the Knicks game, the Spurs beat the OKC Thunder again for the second time, fam, in 3 days, right? And the Knicks obviously took down the San Antonio Spurs as well on NBA Cup final night, right? So that just goes to show that all things are trending in the right direction. Not getting ahead of myself. We can't get ahead of ourselves, you know. What do they say? Can't get too high, can't get too low. But when the Knicks are beating, you know, San Antonio on a finals-like atmosphere, when they're beating Cleveland on, you know, Christmas Day, you know, it just goes to show that, you know, we are in that, you know, championship, right, run. We are, fam. And with guys, you know, showing out and breaking out like Tyler Kolek. But Clarkson, let's give Clarkson his more props because the three-point ball, he's been shooting it really well from the corners all season, right? Not as effective outside of the corner three, but when he's getting those good looks with the ball movement, ball swing into the corners too. Another ball handler, as I say before, I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, a Kolek, Deuce McBride, Clarkson alignment off the bench, right? The major story in this one is the bench play. Diawara giving the Knicks valuable minutes in just 5 minutes, fam. 5 points, hit a three, played some good defense as well. He's taken Gershon Yabusele's minutes as of now, right? As we're heading into the trade season, we'll see what that means. But another player that's getting developed right before our eyes, ladies and gentlemen. So this organization is just being run extremely well from top to bottom, right? Where we're winning games, we're setting new goals, we're playing young players as well, we're developing them and we're coaching them up while still racking up wins against top tier, you know, opposition, right? Cleveland, they started well, like I said, they really wanted this one. Garland came back, Hunter went off a little bit, Mobley and Allen were there, and still, right? I do think the Achilles, just a quick word on Cleveland, right? Oh, they're obviously a good team, but they're off it right now because they're off the pace. I do think they're more of a one-trick pony with Donovan Mitchell. Someone else really needs to make a leap for them to become a real contender because, right, Donovan Mitchell, right, he's such a gifted player and scorer, but if you just let him dominate and go off, right, yes, he can keep you in any ball game with how special he is and the way he can detonate, right? But what that means is other guys just, what do? They just sit back. They go cold. The ball ain't moving like it is with the New York Knicks situation, right? So Donovan Mitchell, right, trying to put Cleveland on his back, but they're just, you know, they don't have enough right now. And the Knicks just have too many options, right? Wait till, you know, you get Deuce McBride and you get a Landry Shamet back, right? It's going to be fireworks, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait for the Detroit matchup. We are getting closer to that, fam. We all want to see that right now. We've played basically everyone else in the East. Bring on those Detroit Pistons, fam. As AP says, Detroit's got that sweet schedule. Sacramento, Utah, New Orleans, right? Yeah, look, it's just going to come down to the playoffs, AP. I don't think we might not catch. There's a chance we might not catch Detroit in the standings, and that's okay. If we're healthy, we're the second seed, and we're rolling. We'll see them when it's money time. When it's business time, we'll see them, right? They better be ready. They better be ready. Glenn Jones, great to see you, fam. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone out here, right? And I hope y'all are blessed, and I'm blessed to be able to chop Knicks basketball up with you all, and we all keep the streets buzzing. Glenn says, Merry Christmas, CT and your family. I hate being down big, but I love coming back big to win. I hope we are talking championship in June, right? Glenn Jones, man, pleasure, and great to see you. And like I say, you know, I do think we're headed in that right direction, you know. All our ducks are in a row, and I do think we'll be there, fam, in the big dance when it comes, right? We're developing more players. We're deep, right? You know, I guess a good barometer of really where you're at is, you know, with so many players out against Minnesota, right? I did miss the post game for the loss, right? Obviously at Minnesota, but there was obviously bigger things at play heading into today, right? Brunson sat, OG sat for that one, but it was good to see guys step up, you know, and really fight, show that fight. Really, really short-handed. The Knicks gave it a good crack. Well, you know, obviously a full strength or close to full strength Minnesota, just missing Jaden McDaniels. They had basically everyone else. So you expect Minnesota at home to win that game, right? Otherwise, there's something seriously wrong with Minnesota if they can't win against the Knicks without Brunson or OG. close to full strength. But on the Knicks front, Kolek, almost a triple-double in his first start, right? So he's still, grinding his, breakout, part of the season and learning, right? Obviously to face, tougher opponents on the road without Brunson. So that was a great learning opportunity for Kolek. If a guy's hit a couple more shots in certain situations, obviously Julius Randle went off a little bit late, no OG. Randall was flexing, flossing, and all of that, right? Yeah, it was frustrating to see, but I wasn't too mad. Let Randall have his little moment. Like, we all knew we were short-handed, right? Julius Randle was going a little bit over the top, but obviously we traded him, and he's human. He's going to show his emotions. Anytime you get traded, we already know what it is, right? But we had bigger things at play, fam. We had bigger fish to fry, and that was today. And boy, did we fry the Cleveland Cavaliers late in the fourth quarter, right? We've got to be one of the best fourth quarter teams I've ever seen, right? And that's just a tribute to not only the coaching staff, but the leaders on the court with Cat, Brunson. Big time play from Cat, right? Made a nice cut to the basket for that big offensive rebound and put back that rolled around and went down, right? Evan Mobley failed to track his run and box out, and Karl Anthony Towns made him pay, right? That just goes to show how dangerous we are. Kolek gets an open look. Whoever gets it, even if it doesn't go down, we're close to 50% chance of getting that rebound, right? It's got to be backbreaking to play the Knicks, knowing you hustle your A off to try to get a stop. We miss and we still get the offensive rebound, right? We're going to be a pain in the neck to play against, fam. And when it gets to the playoffs and the crowd is there, it's just going to be twice as hard to beat the Knicks, fam. AP says, I'm not sitting Tyler Kolek. Those other guys missing their time got to earn their spot back. 100% agree with you. Tyler Kolek is a mainstay and he is here to stay, right? He is absolutely playing out of his mind, and we're witnessing a breakout from a Knicks young player right before our very eyes, fam. A homegrown draft pick, right? Let's be real. He deserved to get selected in the first round, late first round, but the Knicks made a couple of calls, were able to swing the deal reverse, pick up Pacome Dardier, and guarantee that Kolek would be there when they select early in the second round, right? But really, had they not had that option, they probably would have selected Kolek in the first round. And he's repaying the faith. And Rick Pitino, shout out, made a nice tweet earlier today that I retweeted on X as well. His early comments on Kolek, right after the draft or during the draft, and he revisit his thoughts in terms of how special Kolek is coming out, right? And AP says, imagine if Mike Brown was here during the McBride early years. That's a good comment. We've got a lot of hard workers, and sometimes it just takes time. You can't skip steps. First year is a lot of learning around the NBA. You got to go around, do a lap, play every team, figure out the ups and the downs, the grueling schedule, and work on your body. Physicality is a big thing in the NBA. Some players just don't come in ready physically for the bumping and grinding. Tyler Kolek, I said it way early in the season, looked like he was stronger. This is before he was even getting minutes, before he broke out. I was saying, okay, I see extra, muscle strength. He can deal with the physicality. He ain't getting pushed back on defense, which is where it all starts, right? If you can hold your own on defense with Tyler Kolek's skill set, he was always going to be playable. Now, to this extent, where he's absolutely producing on offense is another story. But if he could just hold his own defensively, he would have got more minutes last season, right? We all know to play under Thibodeau, you need to play D, right? Last year, he was just getting pushed around, ragdolled. But right now, I think Kolek worked on his body, and he's definitely a lot stronger too. So I think that's a major key. Obviously, learning under Brunson, campaign, and shouting out his Knicks teammates is a great thing. I do think Landry Shamet, a lot of these guys in the locker room, these veterans, they're always willing to help the young guys out. And we're seeing Mo Diawara really get some confidence as well, man, knocking down some threes too, which is huge. It's big time. Does look like Pacome Dardier is more expendable by the day. Gershon Yabusele, has already been expendable for a little while, but obviously his, player option for next season could be a little bit of a hindrance in terms of moving that contract. We'll wait and see what Leon Rose can do, right? Wouldn't be mad if Gershon Yabusele can stick around, right, as a break glass in case of emergency if he can get it together, but right now he's out of the rotation and deserves to be. Mr. Nixon agrees. Kolek's defense has improved. Yeah, I think the quickness too, laterally, he doesn't seem to be getting blown by or beat. Putting that strength, example aside, it does look like he's just able to shuffle his feet a lot better. He's taking charges too. Don't tell me he hasn't learnt that from Jalen Brunson, putting his body on the line too. Altango 45 to CT. Do you think Tibbs would have played Kolek like Brown has? I think last season, to be real, I don't think Kolek was ready for regular minutes, but I do think, as I spoke on last season a lot, I do think there was moments where Tibbs could have got Kolek in there as learning opportunities for the future. One of my biggest criticisms of Tibbs is he was only thinking about the now, every single minute, every single game. He was never thinking about the future or the long term, right? He was 64, 65 years old, and we always needed a guy that's like, okay, do we take a little bit of a growing pain right now to benefit the future? Tibbs just was never willing to do that, right? Because he knew he wasn't going to be around very long, right? He knew he had a couple of years at max to try to win a chip. Otherwise, he was going to lose his job, right? That's just the way the story goes. That was on Leon Rose to, prioritize the future and the now and get a coach that can make good adjustments for the now, but also for the best interest of the organization for the future. Jet Life for Life, salute, says Kolek is balling out right now. It's just such a great feeling, man, to see the praise, the accolades, the Knicks fan base buzzing over, a Knicks young, player, a sophomore, a guy who was drafted, produce like he is on the biggest stage. Like, it just reminds me so much about Lynn's sanity. I know we never drafted Lynn, but we kind of unearthed him and gave him that platform, and he shined. And Kolek is doing that same on a national stage, right? We're seeing, big time content creators for other teams really talk about Kolek now. And for once, we have that kind of player on our team that other fan bases are talking about, wishing that they had, right? And look, this is the NBA, right? This is said a lot, but a lot of players have the talent to get to this position, right? You are skilled, you are talented, right? What's the difference between taking that opportunity and breaking out? Well, the difference is, execution, right? Just executing. We talked about TJ McConnell last season being a Nick killer. A lot of Knicks fans wish we had like a, Energizer TJ McConnell kind of guy, a pest. And a lot of people felt like Kolek could be that guy, but, we're down for whatever reason last season. Well, we're seeing now, like, who would you pick right now if you had a choice? You would take Tyler Kolek over TJ McConnell, right? And just in the blink of an eye, the player that we hoped, or some Knicks fans hoped, could be a TJ McConnell for us, has superseded that, has surpassed a guy. Obviously, TJ McConnell's at the twilight end of his career, more so on a losing team. But right now, we have a more skilled offensive player in Tyler Kolek who can knock down threes, who can scoop, finish at the rack, and pull up in the mid-range as well. But he's more of a true point guard, not just a pest, a guy that can be gritty, like we saw. Probably the play of the game that I'm going to hit on right now, that I have not hit on, was Tyler Kolek's hustle, getting back, right? Getting back in transition, last defender, last line of defense, Tyler Kolek making that block on Donovan Mitchell, right? Donovan Mitchell pulled up, delayed for a windmill jam, and Kolek referenced that in the locker room. He said if Donovan Mitchell went for the layup, he probably wouldn't have got there in time. But Donovan Mitchell pulled up he wanted the Showtime windmill dunk at MSG, and Kolek got his hand down and got that gritty stop, right? The challenge was unsuccessful, or the challenge was successful on the Knicks front, and the Knicks, right, got a chance to defend the side out, right? Donovan Mitchell missed. the next shot too. Bob, salute to you, and happy holidays to everyone coming through. Smash that like button. We've got the Knicks streets buzzing right now, man. Tyler Kolek, what does the future hold? Well, I did sort of allude earlier in the stream, most improved player, right? That could be a goal. That could be a serious goal, right? I haven't really taken much thought about the contenders right now. Obviously, he's not anywhere near the leaderboard, but from where he been to where he is now, if he continues this trajectory for the rest of the season with this kind of production, he has to be in the conversation. He would have to be in the conversation, going from no minutes at all to basically closing games alongside Jalen Brunson and winning, right? That would have to put you in the conversation for a most improved player right now. And let's track that as the season goes along, fam, right? Not even the boldest of Knicks creators and fans would have had that, I think, as a take, as a Tyler Kolek potential, most improved player. But it can happen, man, in the Mecca. We've seen it before, and we'll see it again. Slow Runner says Donovan Mitchell was surprised by Kolek. A lot of people becoming more and more surprised, fam. Who's who, national outlet media giving props to Kolek too. Even some non-pro Knicks media people really, praising the organization for what we're seeing right now. I just go back to the early in the season and think what would have been if Malcolm Brogdon never retired. Who was going to be the sacrificial lamb to make way on the roster if Malcolm Brogdon never retired? But thankfully, here we are. We never have to think about that again because the Knicks showed restraint. And Leon Rose has done that before. He deserves props once again. He has shown restraint in terms of not making a hasty move, not rushing into it. And a lot of people use that as an example of not to do the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade right now. Just hold off and let this team do what they do, right? They've won the NBA Cup. They're winning big games on the bigger stages. And let's see what the second half of the season brings, right? We're going to face tough competition out west, right? We're going to face the Spurs again. I don't think we've played the Rockets. Detroit, obviously. We haven't played OKC. Let's just see. But I'm really, really excited to see Deuce McBride get back. And you can see a Clarkson, Deuce McBride, Tyler Kolek. Because I was breaking it down earlier in my mind, thinking, okay, if Kolek's showing he can give you 15 points a night, playing with starters and bench, I think that's realistic based on this run. 15 points a night. We know, Deuce McBride can give you 20 in his sleep. Jordan Clarkson with 25 tonight. Let's say, okay, he gives you 20, right? That's what, 60, 55, 60 points off the bench, right? In production, when scoring. The point I made earlier tonight in this stream was, this is one of the best benches in recent memory with those guys able to create, handle, shoot, and pass, right? If you can dribble, shoot, pass, then, you always, a chance to be on the floor in crunch time, right? That's what makes a really productive NBA player, right? Dribble, shoot, pass. And Deuce McBride, Clarkson, and Kolek can do all of that, right? Yes, there's the size, sort of drawback, and that won't change. But also, you could use that to your advantage. Run, get up and down, do what Indiana have done the last few seasons, right? If the starters are handling their business, all the bench needs to do is just come in and be productive, either take the lead or get the scoreboard ticking up. And if, like I said, if Deuce is giving you 15 to 20, Kolek's giving you 15, and Clarkson can give you 15 or 20, right? To get more than 50 points of scoring off the bench, right? We haven't had that. We haven't had that in a long time. That means Brunson can sit longer. That means we could possibly even take the lead with the bench on the floor. And, Kolek being out there is just like another extension of JB, basically. He's looking like a baby JB out there. No coincidence, playing with Brunson on the regular, right? A piece of CT, that's a very good, let's do the campaign, Kolek for MIP. Yep. That's the true essence of the MIP, in my opinion. None of these guys like guys who are first overall picks, like Cade Cunningham, people talking about him as an MIP. Well, we already knew he's going to be a stud. The true essence of the MIP, in my opinion, is a guy who just comes out of nowhere. Nobody expects nothing, basically, and he's coming in and producing like this, man, almost a triple-double in his first start. Right, kind of reminds me of Austin Reeves, where he was very, very unheralded, coming in, basically becoming a starter immediately. That's the kind of MIP, in my opinion, that should be a real MIP, not a guy drafted, as a lottery pick, right? Yes, we've got the All-Star voting underway, buzzer beater with the clutch comment. Vote for your favorite Knicks for the All-Star game. Votes count for 3 times today, fam. Great comment. Salute to you. And yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns should be another All-Star. Brunson will be there. Maybe we have 2 starters once again. And obviously we got Karl-Anthony Towns engaged today to his fiancée, Jordan Woods, as well. So Kat, I think it looked like he proposed on the Empire State Building at the top as well, with the beautiful view too. What a day these guys have had, fam. Buzzer beater come through with a super chat, says vote for your favorite Nick for the All-Star game, right? And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the All-Star, weekend plays out this season, but we're going to have heavy Nick represents, and it's going to be great. Salvador salute, got to give it to TK, IQ all day. Yeah, IQ is a big part. He just looks like another JB out there, like I said. Reads the play, reads the floor really well. What I like about Kolek is he plays at the speed that I think he's really, the way he talked about, he learned from campaign. He doesn't hold on to the ball too long, right? He grabs it. If he doesn't need a dribble, he'll pass it immediately. He'll do the quick skip pass and get it up to the open man for the shooter as well. So such a heady player is Tyler Kolek. And look, shout out to those, draft junkies that love the experienced college players as well. 4 years in college. Who'd have thought that staying a couple of years or even 1 more year in college could be beneficial, right? Because all it means is, okay, you're getting more development in college, right? And when you head to the NBA, you're ready. You're more ready to produce. You don't need to waste more NBA years developing, right? We all know the Kevin Knoxes and those guys that come into the league, Bacome Dardier's 18, 19, right? All that means is you're wasting years in the NBA developing and you're not getting minutes. And sometimes teams will give up on you because they need production sooner. But if you can stay in college a bit longer, work on your game, well, look what we see with Tyler Kolek. 2nd year in the league, you're basically close to a starter now. I don't think it's hyperbole to say Tyler Kolek is, borderline starter in terms of if you're closing games out, you're almost putting up triple doubles as a starter when Brunson is out. I think the coaching staff are just really gonna trust Kolek. He can knock down free throws late, 3 threes in the 4th quarter, got ice in his veins as well. And that leadership, when you get to lead your college team, Marquette, you do have that, winning pedigree, as a leader as well. You need to step up in big games, make big plays. You're ready to do that. And Kolek is ready to do that right now. I think the biggest leap was defense. If you can just stay out on the floor and play defense, hold your own. Not only that, but he's making huge defensive plays to win you the game, right? That's what's so crazy about this. Who would have thought Kolek is the one making defensive plays to win you the game, right? The best we could hope for is that he's just going to hold his own. But right now, he's making more of an impact than that as well. Clearly, that New York grit is wearing off, especially from last year, being a part of last year's team, right? And carrying that forward into this year's team as well. El Tango says, when Deuce comes back, we'll have the best bench guard scoring in the league. All we need is another big scoring wing, maybe a Sadiq Bey. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of Sadiq Bey links, mostly from the fan base. Obviously, he's a prototypical guy that would be excellent off the bench. And I agree with you. The 3-guard alignment with Kolek, Deuce McBride and Clarkson is going to be box office, man. I have no doubt in my mind it's going to work well. Because I've always believed this, what's the main aim for the bench is to come in and score, right? If you're scoring, at least you're not going to fall behind, right? Yes, some benches come in, they play lockdown, gritty defense. That's also good too. But if you've got three guards that can come in and score 15 to 20, right, when Brunson can sit, he can just sit even longer. Those guys can get hot too. Buzzerbeater says, I haven't seen Detroit win tough games like us yet. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how the NBA schedule plays out, What are we almost approaching the halfway point? We haven't played Detroit yet. We haven't played OKC, but, that's just something, that's just going to add extra juice. It's just going to add extra ammo for these guys, when they do face off. But obviously, we're going to face Detroit 4 times. So those games are going to come quick in a shortened span. The fact that we haven't played them yet. But we've definitely played some gritty teams, and had some gritty wins. The gritty win over Minnesota early in the season was big time. We blew them out second half. The gritty win over Miami was obviously a great gritty win. And a couple more, obviously the NBA Cup final, not counting in the standings, but that was really gritty. The Orlando semi-final was a big gritty win as well. And yeah, I want to give Detroit their props because, they were one of the best teams last season for the second half of the season. Now, the standings didn't reflect that, but they were one of the better teams in the NBA for the second half of last season. So all they're simply doing is just carrying on from last season, basically. So it ain't a surprise breakout to me. Now, I'm a little surprised they're still in the top seed, but they are still one of the better teams in the East. We saw that last season. They gave us some problems, right? But look, last season, you look at our bench compared to now, right? We're able to hold our own in that series. Cat wasn't his best, and I do think we're coming in. We're a lot better. Detroit is a lot better, though, with some of their guys producing. So that is going to be fun. But we might not face each other till the third Eastern Conference Finals round, too. Neymar says, wait, Cat got a ring on the Empire State Building. Salute. AP, what do you trade to get that kind of guy? Assuming you're talking about, the wing situation, a Sadiq Bey, what do you trade to get that kind of guy? Well, don't know if we can get that kind of guy. I don't know what New Orleans are going to plan to do. They've obviously got bigger names like Zion. There's going to be a lot of teams after Herb Jones. Clearly, Kolek's untradeable, but clearly his stock is up. So there will be teams calling. Not to say that the Knicks are going to do it. There's no way I could see them trading Kolek at this point. But the shoe is on the other foot now. There's going to be teams calling the Knicks saying, okay, hey, you called us maybe 2 months ago. Is Kolek still available? And I would expect the Knicks to jack up the asking price or say no. But Yabusele, look, it's going to be hard to trade a guy that's out of the rotation. His trade stock is non-existent, I would say, at this point. He's more of a throw-in to make the salaries work. I think one of the Knicks' best assets from an expendable standpoint would be the Washington protected pick, which is going to be 2 good second rounders, which could be the 31st pick overall. A lot of teams would like to get their hands on that because you could get a first round type talent without the guaranteed contract. So I do think that's an asset the Knicks could need to package and might need to do that to get that wing. Fam. Jet Life for Life says Yabu Pacome, Washington pick for Sadiq. Yeah, I could see that. I don't think Yabu is the asset in that deal. Pacome and the Washington pick could be that. Johnny Chiba, salute, says Kolek has arrived. Hallelujah. Merry Xmas to development, fam. Development. What a summer Tyler Kolek had, right? He was ready. He was ready for this moment. And as I said earlier tonight, the extra, years in college, the obviously the experience from last season in his rookie year as well. He's just taken this opportunity. his feel for the game is amazing too as the point guard. Just having another leader on this roster is big time, right? So we've developed Mitch, we've developed Deuce McBride, and we're developing Tyler Kolek to a major, major player. Buzzerbeater says a versatile forward in case OG gets hurt. Yeah, I think that's number one priority. Man. Clearly, Kolek is adding point guard backup skills, scoring now. I don't think we really need to look at that. If you can get Jose Alvarado on the cheap without giving up Kolek, as I said earlier, I would do that still. Having another guy, another veteran would be cool. You never know what happens in the playoffs. Teams will be calling about Deuce McBride, I feel. But I think you keep hold of everyone on that bench right now, outside of Yabu Dardier. Obviously, and you've got the picks or pick swaps if you want. Look, McCullough, he's not untouchable. If someone wants him. But yeah, clearly Dardier and Yabusele are the two most tradable guys right now. Diawara, I don't see any way they trade him at all. He's getting some valuable experience right now. AP says, CT, how do you feel about OG Macau? Is there any news on Josh Hart? No news on Hart yet. I'm sure they'll be doing the scans, but yeah, it is a rolled ankle. So I think best case scenario, it's just an ankle, a mild ankle sprain. And I do think Hart should probably sit out, miss maybe a couple of games, worst case scenario, hopefully not too much. How do I feel about OG Macau? Excellent when they're healthy, right? Impactful without the basketball. Those guys I think they're playoff performers. I try not to microscope their performances in the regular season too much because I just know when the playoffs hit, you see their levels go up, especially their defensive tenacity. Mikal Bridges won the defensive player of the game today. Yeah, a lot of people get on Mikal sometimes for his lack of aggression, avoiding contact, sometimes goes missing in some, big spots and games. But, with Mikal Bridges, right, he's clearly the third option or maybe even further down if OG's going off. So it's hard to keep up that aggressive mindset when you are the third or fourth option. You're used to the other guy shooting a lot. You're used to kind of cutting, standing around, waiting for your opportunities. I would like to see Mikal Bridges be more aggressive, act like the second option sometimes, because we all know that Cat can have a couple of boneheaded plays, can take himself out of the games with foul trouble. It's important that Mikal Bridges does stay aggressive offensively. Same with OG. But it is more of a mindset thing. The skill set is there. They could do it. But I do think it's more of a mentality thing. Jeffrey says, keep the team as is. 100% agree. Great comment. We're growing every day. The chemistry is getting better. There hasn't been a lot of reporting on this, but we did hear earlier in the season that Mike Brown was going to practice more. This team looks more, ready in clutch situations. They look more organized. So I'm going to assume that practices are frequent or more frequent than the Thibodeau era. Maybe it is just more familiarity with some of the leader guys. Kolek was around last season, so he's ready to kind of take that step up off the bench. But clearly, I do think this team is practicing more. Mike Brown kind of shuffling his minutes and, definitely, reducing minutes and playing a deeper rotation. So I think that's really helpful. Simon says Yabu Deuce and Dardier for Herb Jones. I've seen a couple more people, flirt with the idea of moving on from Deuce, obviously to get that wing. Now that Kolek is showing what he's doing, I wouldn't kind of move that aggressive too soon. Obviously, I would try to keep Deuce here and try to get a backup wing. Stay patient. If I'm Leon Rose, I would urge him to just stay patient. I do think there's going to be some good players in the buyout market. It might not need to be a trade. You might just need to trade Yabu and a pick just to get rid of that salary for next season. He does have the player option, and the more it's looking, I think Yabusele would be more likely to pick up that 5.5 million player option for next season, right? Which would be bad for the New York Knicks, right? If he ain't playing or he ain't productive, you don't want a player picking up the 5.5 million, right? Now, he could still get it together. Big summer if he is sticking around, but my priority for Leon Rose, if he's out of the rotation, to try to get that salary off the books and see what we can do. You might need to throw in Dardier as a throw in with that Washington pick. In terms of, AP asking, what do you think McBride gets us? Well, yeah, I think McBride would get you a really good rotation player. There is reports actually, teams are calling the Knicks, asking, what are the thoughts on Deuce McBride? There are teams calling about him, right? But for me, he's off limits, right? I know he gets hurt a little bit more now, but he's a key reason why our bench is strong. Clarkson, a little erratic still. Can't rely on him all the time. Kolek's still young, learning the ropes. Deuce McBride is that seasoned vet off the bench right now. He's important to my championship aspirations, right? I hang up if they are, unless they're offering, a crazy deal with a bona fide starting caliber wing. I'm keeping Deuce personally. Johnny Chiba says Kolek is a better true point guard than JB. Instant offense is a key role. Yeah, I talked about that, Johnny Chiba, about Kolek learning a lot from campaign, Brunson as well. But obviously different coaches too. College coaches thriving at Marquette last season. Tibbs was a hard-nosed coach and definitely pushed Kolek, gave him some tough love. And look, sometimes players just need a humbling. They need a setback to overcome. And I'm not saying it's the conventional method to be overly harsh on a young player like Tibbs was last season. But the fact is, maybe Kolek just wasn't ready to take this kind of leap last season, but he should have played more. He should have played more minutes. We'll see how that all plays out. Buzzerbeater says, I take accountability for criticizing Mikal's lack of physicality. Appreciate that. We all want better. Sometimes it's just tough love comes from a good place. We all want to see Knicks players thrive. It just, if we see an area where they're ducking it or cutting corners, we do call it out. That's what makes Knicks fans the best in the business. Dirty Dancer, salute. Happy holidays and blessings. The wing off the bench should be Josh. I think that's a good call as well. Great comment. My pre-season, I was adamant about Hart staying on the bench, but I thought Mitch would be that starter, but that doesn't look to be the play. Maybe Deuce McBride. Let us know if you think Deuce is that guy. I think you wanted Deuce starting, but obviously Kolek's another great option now. He's closing games with JB. That chemistry is amazing. Michael, salute. Happy holidays and blessings. Do we have an update on Hart and Deuce and Shamet? I'll start with Deuce and Shamet. According to Mike Breen, this was during the Minnesota coverage on MSG. Mike Breen obviously is closely tapped in. I was expecting Deuce to be ready today, so I'm assuming Deuce is very, very close, fam. Wouldn't be surprised if he's questionable or probable for either the ATL game or New Orleans. So I think Deuce is very, very close. Shamet making great progress, not as close as Deuce, but we are going to see Shamet in January. Right? It does look like Shamet is getting a lot closer than people thought. As for Hart, that's a little too soon. Hart, ankle sprain. I think they're going to do the scans just to clear any ligament or structural damage, but we are going to get that probably tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, prayers up. Hopefully Hart is okay. I do think with Hart, Hart's that game Hart's the player where you just got to read how the game is going. He can play at any moment, any game, but you just have to manage the flow of the game with Josh Hart. Now, to his credit, he's been so much better this season knocking down the three. So that is why he's found himself in that starting lineup. Mike Brown was always a Hart fan. Like, it's funny how we don't have Tibbs and people thinking, oh, we're not going to play Hart as much. Well, if you hold a gun to Mike Brown's head, he would still love to play Hart just as much. But I think he's more sensible in terms of managing the game when Hart doesn't have it going. Now, yeah, Jeffrey says, right now, don't make no trades, keep his team together. I agree with that. Johnny Chiba. Well, just before I move on to Johnny Chiba, I think Jeffrey's comment, I think if you can do a minor move for like a Alvarado, yeah, I would still do that. Only sacrificing either Yabusele or Dardier. The other thing is buyout. I don't see enough people talking about the buyout situation, right? What's the point in trading a valuable piece or any piece if you can just pick someone up on a buyout, right? The Knicks are in a really sexy situation where, a talented buyout player would heavily consider coming. It's just got to be the right fit. And obviously, we don't know who's going to get bought out, but there will be players get bought out, right? A lot of teams are going to be tanking. Johnny Chiba says, trade Deuce for Devo, sign Sadiq. Got the Villanova 5. Yeah, we just need Eric Paschal. But I do think with the Devo thing, I've heard recently there's some cold water been splashed on the Devo situation. Obviously, the Knicks have interest, would like to explore a reunion, but it's going to come down to Minnesota, I think, and making salaries work. It's going to be tough. Yeah, Pete says, we finally have a great backup point. Let's trade him like we did Hot Rod. Dirty Dancer says, no planet where Tibbs plays Brunson next to smaller guards. Good riddance. Yeah, look, analytically, the Deuce McBride Brunson minutes last season, there's a reason why everyone wanted to see that. And obviously with Kolek, another player that can move the ball quickly, can pass, and hit those threes now. And I've been saying most recently, the defense and the three-point ball is what separates Kolek from being a major rotation player. And lo and behold, he's knocking down every single three, it seems like right now. He could be in the three-point contest, especially with the crowd and MSG behind you, fam. A lot of us could splash it with everyone, right behind you. It's just great to have the confidence being on a winning team. You win the NBA Cup, you're second seed out East. Let's talk a little bit about Boston. Boston fans are starting to talk spicy again, right? They were a little bit down earlier in the season, right? They're third seed, only a couple of games away from the Knicks. Jason Tatum flirting with an early return. What do you guys make of the Boston situation? Are you worried at all? Are you willing to admit it's interesting to see what Boston could be if Tatum comes back this season, right? I was always flirting with that idea earlier in the season. I do think Tatum was always going to try to get back for a playoff run, right? Because I know most stars and players hate to miss a season, right? Or they hate to throw away a season, right? If their team is in a great standing and they're able to return for a playoff run, most players will try to do that. Is it sensible? Well, I'm not a medical doctor and all of that, but it is going to be interesting. I hope Tatum rushes back, let him rush back and find out. You can't just flip a switch and go from no regular season ball to playoff ball with this intensity. Let them find out. Let them find out. Dirty Dan says, for a former football player, Deuce certainly doesn't gut out injuries. I think a lot of wear and tear as well. Batum would be a nice buyout guy, says Dirty Dancer. Yeah, agree. Hell no, Tatum dumb. Yep, definitely. Johnny Chiba, CT, did you talk about how fantastic Mitch was? Yes, I did talk about Mitch, but not enough. So I'm glad you're coming in with the Mitch fire. Mitch today, right? The Kolek threes don't happen without Mitch for a lot of them. Clarkson included, right? The will. Actually, Mitch was asked in the locker room, how are you able to do that? And he's just like, just sheer will. right? Throwing his weight around, throwing his body around. I do think with Mitch, right, with his background, he's far from a finesse player. He's really hard hat Tim's vest. Mitch embodies that New York grit. And I do think Mitch, durability issues aside, he would have been a great player in the 90s. Mitch could have hung with the early 2000s, late 90s, because he plays physical, throws his weight around, right? He doesn't duck or hate contact, physicality. He welcomes it. And he definitely will punk you if you're not willing to play as physical or more physical than him, right? I mean, he drives a monster truck around New York City. Need I say any more right now, right? He circles that calendar anytime he sees Cleveland. He's like, yep, Jarrett Allen, you better be ready right now. He takes these matchups personal. Now, he's knocking down free throws. That's great. Now, today, a little disappointing. Wasn't able to knock down those pairs. But with that said, look, Mitch's free throw shooting's improved. Not sure what it's up to right now. I think it's back up above 50% for sure, maybe around 60. We'll see how that continues to progress. Shout out to the coaching, the shooting coach as well. Now, if Mitch can be more confident putting the ball on the floor a little bit and going back up strong, not just always throwing it back out, because that is a little predictable. The scouting report never lies. Teams will, work on that. When Mitch grabs that rebound, they'll get in the passing lane and be prepared for the kick out. If Mitch can just fake or hold the ball up high, because sometimes he brings the ball down too low, he can hold it up high and go back up strong. One pump dribble, back up strong, and try to finish. That would be great. Huck Porty did frustrate me a little bit against Minnesota. He's a little iffy under the basket when he's trying to put back, and he sometimes gets blocked as well. He needs to work on his head fake situation. But I do think, Mitch can still improve in these subtle ways. Now, I don't think his game is going to break out at this stage of his career, but I think if he can work on different things in the summer and offensively, the fact that he's dominant in all other areas would really, really help this team if Mitch sticks around. Now, it's kind of interesting to talk about Mitch's contract situation. We see the contracts around the NBA. If he can stay healthy all season, I think it's a smart move for him to bet on himself. We'll see. Johnny Chiba, salute to you. Appreciate you for the quote, comment, question. Simon says, it'd be risky for Tatum's career. It always comes with risk. Yeah, obviously he'd be medically cleared to return. But like I said, there's just no simulation for the contact, the physicality of the playoffs, fam. Like I said, we're thinking, Knicks Pistons, Knicks Boston. As I suggested last stream, what if Boston was to face Detroit? That would be crazy physical for them, right? For Tatum to potentially return in the second round, right? Because if Boston finished third or fourth, they could still meet Detroit before the Knicks, right? So that would be great for us. Let those two Bulls lock horn and one of them knock each other out. That would be great. I'll take Philly all day. I'll take Cleveland. We'll take Orlando or Miami, right? In the first couple rounds. Let's see. Not talking about the Giannis thing too much right now, but I do find it ridiculous that the Bucks, by reports, are still trying to entertain win now moves. I don't know if that's a smoke screen. I would not be surprised if it is more of a smoke screen. The kind of the before the storm kind of thing, the calm before the storm. They're trying maybe one last ditch effort to please Giannis because he won't forcefully ask out. That's the crazy thing. Giannis won't go to the Bucks and say, I want to be traded. He doesn't want to be the bad guy. He has a legacy in Milwaukee as a champion. I get it. He's blaming his agent, which is ridiculous because we all know you could tell your agent what you want, right? Your agent just doesn't speak for themselves. They speak for you. But the Bucks, I think they're happy to keep Giannis this season. I think Giannis would be okay staying for the rest of the season, assuming no other team can come with like a suitable offer for Milwaukee and blow them out and really force the issue. And I don't think there's that offer out there right now. I think teams are hesitant to kind of put all their chips in and give up kind of something too crazy. I do think maybe Toronto could get a little crazy if they wanted, maybe ATL or maybe Houston Rockets. Look out for the Houston Rockets to do something a little crazy because they do have some good young players. They do have the picks as well. KD's in the final years. So, it's looking out west. It's crazy right now with the Spurs. Once again, Spurs beating OKC for the second time in 3 nights. To obviously the Knicks handling the Spurs well. Wemby had a down game, but Mitchell Robinson was a big factor in that. That's why you don't trade Mitch. You might end up facing Wembanyama in the NBA Finals, right? I'm not willing to put OKC down the pecking order yet. I do think they're probably still, teetering on the first favorite to come out of the West still. But obviously things are changing rapidly with San Antonio able to beat them twice. I think San Antonio is a tough matchup for OKC, fam. They got the physicality, they got the guard play, they got the skills, they got the size too. Look out for San Antonio to potentially try to, finagle a win now move as well, right? That's going to be really, really interesting, fam. But yeah, I can't wait for the Detroit game now. We've got the big Christmas Day game out of the way in the rear view, and that is Cleveland. The Cleveland Cavaliers in the Knicks rear view. What are they? 1 game above 500 now, or 2? Kenny Atkinson under a lot of pressure. I do think they're more one-dimensional right now with Donovan Mitchell detonating, but obviously everyone else standing around watching, right? And that is a detriment to their team. I think they're too one-dimensional too. They need a bigger leap from Evan Mobley, and they're going to be, I think, no higher than the 4th seed if they can get it together, right? Time is a ticking for Cleveland right now, fam. So the Knicks and Cleveland were the favorites to come out of the East. Well, no more. The New York Knicks, right, the very top right now, and with our recent play, that is firmly justified. Neymar thinks Mitch returns for next year. I would love to see that, Keep it rolling, keep it running. Continuity is key right now. This is a great stretch. Guys are 30, 29, or OG's 28, 29, Brunson 30, Cat's 30, Mikal 29. Let's just keep this core together. Who knows? 2, 3, 4 years. You see teams get to the top, they need those extra few years, and then they break through. You add a couple of pieces around the bench. A size wing would be great off the bench. Let's see what Leon Rose can do. A guy who could guard more, up in positions, just so Josh Hart ain't getting banged up. Pete says OKC is banged up and playing like it. Dr. Scott, salute, fam. Great to see you. What a win. The streets are indeed buzzing. T. Kolek has arrived. Clutch, Captain Clutch does it again. Jordan Clarkson is balling. Yeah, Clarkson tweeted out, playing for the Knicks at MSG on Christmas Day. His mind was blown too, but he's given us great production, great energy is Clarkson, and there's still a lot of fight in that old dog from Jordan Clarkson. And what a pickup that was as a buyout. The Cup and the Christmas Day game in the same year, New York Flash, we mean business. I like that buzzer. Dirty Dancer says, with basically no shot, Yabu is declining his second-year option. Right, they will already be pressing on it anyways. Okay. With basically no minutes, you think Yabu's declining? I don't know where he's going to get the 5.5 million though. I think he might be picking it up. It is a player option, fam, not a team option. But yeah, let's see. Obviously, players do want to play, so they can force the issue. Johnny Chiba, Kolek, Mitch Clarkson and late game heroics from the captain were Xmas presents. 100%, you know, it was their present to us. 17-point comeback. Look, I can't gloss over the fact that the Knicks were down 17. They played a lot of tough games recently. It's been a grueling schedule. Brunson played 3 games in 4 nights before the Minnesota rest. Look, these games are kind of an outlier sometimes too. A lot of energy in the building. We could be playing the lowest seed and they would get up for a Christmas Day game. But it's all about execution, you know, staying cool, staying calm. And the Knicks delivered a late, great Christmas present for all of us. Great to see Kolek, Mitch, and the bench be one of the main stories, right? Which is better for our championship, I think, chances, right? You can't always just be solely relying on these starters to win you an NBA championship. The bench do play a major part. They come in, they can change the flow of the game, they can get ahead, even if the starters don't have it sometimes. And I think the beautiful thing about this squad, and I'm going to wrap up with this point, is that with mixing and matching lineups, we have a DNA of 9 guys that you could play any of them. You could play Mitch closing games with the starters and not miss a beat. You could throw Deuce as a starter and he would fit in. Kolek can close games out and Clarkson can play with any 5-man lineup. So that's 9 guys. That's basically, okay, you close your eyes and you blink and you could find, mix and match the right lineups and still get the right result. And I think that's excellent. Guys know their role on this team, which is a big tick to the coaching staff and a big tick for our chances to win a championship. You kind of look at OKC, you throw different guys out there, they all know their role and they go out there and they get it done. So appreciate everyone once again for joining us. Smash that like button. Replay squad, get your comments in, right? We'll be back live post-game against Atlanta, who are struggling mightily. Trae Young, the on and off numbers don't look great for Trae Young. The Hawks have a better record when Trae Young's sitting, right? So I think that Trae Young era might be coming to an end, and the New York Knicks can pound the foot on the net of Atlanta Hawks, and then we have New Orleans, right? Could that be the last time we see Jose Alvarado face him on the Pelicans too? So some very interesting storylines coming up. But obviously the rest of the Christmas Day games, I've got to catch some of the results. But San Antonio beating OKC is obviously one of the biggest developments now. Two games in 3 nights too. Stay blessed, everyone. Merry Xmas. The streets are buzzing.